Hey everybody, Mark Schultz and Larry Little here for another edition of Recovery in Aviation. Good morning, Larry.
Hey Mark, good to be with you today. Excited to have the discussion again this morning.
Yeah, hey, we're going to have another great discussion today on recovery in aviation. There are so many things happening in aviation today. It is just absolutely unbelievable. And today's Recovery in Aviation edition is again focusing on primarily business aviation, but there's a twist on it. We got a twist, all right? And we got a lot of things which we're covering today in general aviation, business aviation, and commercial aviation. Larry, there are so many things happening out there today in aviation today, aren't there?
You know, Mark, usually we kind of focus on commercial aviation and what's going on in commercial. And I would just say what's going on in commercial is things are stabilizing. But what's exciting about this morning is we're going to talk a little bit about business aviation and general aviation. And there's some real lessons to be learned there. They are coming out of this, they are recovering from this pandemic or this crisis a lot quicker than the commercial sector.
Yeah, we are absolutely seeing growth and recovery in business aviation. What we found is that it didn't fall as far and it's coming back faster. And so, as those of you that are out there in the industry looking for places for your business to be able to grow, you need to be looking at business aviation. Hey, before we move on any further, remember, this is a live broadcast right now. We're live and we're going to have some guests on here in just a minute. But I'd like to ask you if you could share this stream out there. We'd really appreciate it. And remember, there's going to be questions and answers, Q&A session time during this broadcast. You are going to have the ability to be able to put comments down into this live session. And our guests on the program today are going to be answering those live, for you. So, hey, join in. Let's make this a two-way conversation. That's why we do these lives, is because they're a lot of fun. Hey, without any further, we're going to jump forward and we're going to have a bit of a discussion about general aviation, about business aviation and commercial aviation. And our guests today are going to be from a recently merged company, two companies, ATP and Flightdocs. Many of you know those two companies out there, and they're very prominent. They've been around for a long, long time, almost 50 years. And it's exciting to be able to see the synergy that's going to come from the two of those, coming together. And, again, like I said, we're going to be focusing on business aviation. And so let's just go ahead and bring our guests in and begin the conversation with them. Absolutely. Here, hey, good morning. Hey, we have Rick Noble, and Rick is the CEO of ATP. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Hey, where are you coming to us from today?
Beautiful Castle Rock, Colorado today.
Awesome. Colorado. I miss it. I spent 18 years there. Absolutely.
Right.
And then we also have Greg Hines. Greg, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, Greg is the Chief Strategy Officer now across the new combined ATP and Flightdocs company. Hey, just before we get started, in case we have anybody on the broadcast that isn't completely familiar with what these two companies are and what you've brought to the industry, Rick, can you tell us just briefly who ATP is as a company?
Sure. Well, as you just mentioned, we've been around for a very long time, supplying access to technical publications to maintainers in business and general aviation. We also have a couple of software products. One helps our customers identify chronic defects more quickly, and the other is a troubleshooting tool.
That's great. That's great. And then, Greg, we switch over to you. Is that you were the president of Flightdocs until just last week? Was it Friday or what day was it?
Last Tuesday.
Yeah, last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday. Fantastic. Congratulations. And now you have a new role over the combined companies, which is the Chief Strategy Officer. Tell us what Flightdocs is and what your new role is in the company.
Yeah, sure. So Flightdocs is a cloud-based provider, software solutions. We've been focused mostly in business aviation, but support a number of different sectors within the industry. And the core of the product is maintenance tracking, inventory and purchasing management, as well as flight operations. And previously the president there, we've grown the Flightdocs company over the last 13 years. Very happy about coming together with ATP as of last week. And in my new role, really just looking at strategic initiatives, new product development, partnerships, ways to continue growing our business.
Yeah, I think the industry is really excited about the two of you coming together because it creates some fantastic synergy, which we're going to talk about in a bit. Hey, before I continue to go on, I want to remind you is that we really like to have two-way interactions, and I see we have people joining really from all over the world right now. I watch on our screen here where people are coming from. Hey, if you got a quick second, just down in the comments, just say hi and tell us where you are in the world. We really like to know that. And I already see a long list of people, stacked up out there from all around the world. Hey, enter into this conversation with us. Tell us where you are. So hey, as we go forward here, we wanted to, in this format, what we're going to do here today is we want to give you a little bit of information about Flightdocs as a company. We want to give you a little bit of information about ATP and how the synergies come together. But before we jump in and do that, we just want to have a quick chat about what's happening in business aviation right now. Now, Larry, let's go back and start out with you again. Is that, you mentioned that business aviation is really moving pretty strong. What are you seeing out there in the industry today and is happening?
Well, Mark, you mentioned it from the start. The business aviation was not hit as hard as the other sectors. But also, as we look forward, the projections are in June, July, and August for business aviation to be back up to 85 or 90% of where they were a year ago. And then if you look out further from that, the projections are that they're going to actually grow, more than where they were pre-COVID.
Yeah, that's really important because, business aviation is an important part of the sector. Here's a slide that I grabbed off of the MBAA website. And, business aviation contributes to over $200 billion worth of revenue, within the industry. And so that's a really major impact. Now, let's go back to the two of you at ATP and the Flightdocs. Rick, before the problems we had in the economy taking a downturn earlier this year, how's your company doing, and what's happening right now, given the changes in the economic conditions for your company?
Yeah. So we started off the year with a roar. We were, I think through April, revenues up about 7% across the company. But really, to understand it all, you have to kind of look into the different sectors we serve, and those include business aviation, which you've been talking about, and military. We have some products that we sell directly to OEMs, and also airlines. And I think of that group, the airlines, not unexpectedly, have been the hardest hit by the pandemic.
Yeah, so one of the benefits of what your company had was you have some diversification across those different verticals in the aviation industry, don't you?
Yeah, classic portfolio theory.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now let's shift over to Greg for a minute. Greg, how was your company prior to this, and how has this economic impact, affected FlightDocs today?
Yeah, started off the year extremely strong. January, February, March were all record years for us. We started seeing definitely a change and a shift in March, but business aviation has stayed strong. Some operators have slowed down. Some stopped flying for a bit, but during this time, they took it as an opportunity to catch up on maintenance. And now we're starting to see, flights coming back. Business is picking back up. I think there's going to be an introduction of people into business aviation or private travel that hadn't been there in the past. And our system usage is back up to where it was in February. So things are definitely moving in the right direction.
That's really great. Larry really likes to stay on top of what's happening in the industry, aviation industry as a whole. Larry's a pilot, and he's flying actively and stays on top of business aviation, and commercial aviation comes from that sector. But Larry, you've been seeing some different parts rising faster than others. What are you seeing out there, and how does business aviation compare to what's happening in the commercial sector right now?
Hey, that's a great question, Mark, and maybe just a little context around what business aviation is, because I think a lot of people think business aviation, they think rich guys flying around in jets. But you know what? Business aviation is everything from a Cessna 172 to some of the Citations and a Boeing business jet. So it's really a large and diverse sector, and like I said before, the recovery is happening a lot quicker, I think, than people imagined. And certainly quicker than the commercial sector for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, so it's really exciting to be able to see that part of aviation really being so strong. And so let's have a bit of a discussion first about FlightDocs, and then about ATP, and then the synergy of bringing those things together. But Greg, if I could direct a few questions to you for a minute, is that you have some products and solutions that have been operating within the business aviation sector, mostly. That's been the biggest piece of your business, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. That's where we started. We started selling to corporate flight departments way back in 2003, and we've expanded into charter. We do air medical. We do a little bit of 121, but definitely business aviation is our core customer today.
Yeah, and so you have some products which directly help people to be more efficient in that space. Like this picture here, up on the screen. What are we looking at here right now? What's this particular person doing out there?
Yeah, for sure. One of the big advantages that we've brought to the market at FlightDocs has been our mobile capabilities. And so our customers are leveraging, their iPads, iPhones, Androids in their day-to-day processes. And what you see here is one of our customers out doing a pre-flight inspection using our digital checklist to carry out checks on the aircraft before a flight.
Now, what's pretty amazing, though, is that you've now brought together a new portfolio, bringing together, ATP and FlightDocs, which has, interestingly, many of your products fit right together and have, not a tremendous amount of overlap. It's like you've just increased the IT portfolio as a whole, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We look at the ATP products as very complementary to what we do. And so as we look forward at our future strategy, we're looking at how we can integrate these products and deliver a more of an end-to-end solution to our customer base.
Yeah, Rick, being the CEO of ATP, you guys made a strategic decision now last week to bring these two companies together. Can you tell us some of your thoughts on the strategic nature of bringing these two companies and portfolios together?
Yeah, Greg touched on it a little bit. So we just see a lot of opportunity for collaborative products, end-to-end solutions, just, to pick one example. So imagine somebody in the Flightdocs maintenance program being able to just seamlessly click out and get the technical publication or airworthiness directive or whatever right in that same screen, and have it have it go to the ATP Aviation Hub to provide that information. So ATP obviously has been historically in the business and general aviation market in a big way, but what Flightdocs does is kind of sits adjacent to what we're doing, and very complementary, as we've said.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that you're serving quite a broad market across all the different sectors right now, right? I mean, of aviation. Like you said earlier in our broadcast, is that you guys are, well. Hey, let me just back up a little bit. Is that I've been in aviation for 40 years myself, and I used to know ATP as the maintenance manual publications guys for Cessna 172s, but you're a little bit more than that now, aren't you?
We are, but yeah, the ATP technical pub portion of the company has been around for 47 years. Kind of went through the classic information industry, morphing from paper to microfiche to CD-ROM, and now, of course, everything's online.
Yeah, and then into business jets, and then I see that you've also gone into different Boeing aircraft, like Boeing business jets and things like that. Hey, Larry, you came from Boeing. Is that BBJs are a strategic part of the company, right? Of the Boeing company, right?
Absolutely, Mark. They really are a strategic part of the business, and to see these tools being used on everything from a 172 to a Boeing business jet is just really exciting. And so we talked a little bit about the value stream, and I think Rick and Greg, what you guys have done is brought two links in that value chain that are really close. You brought them together, which is really exciting to see.
Yeah, and Greg, one of the exciting things that you told me as we got to know each other is that you said that you've developed this relationship with Boeing where you're actually providing software solutions with the delivery of some of the Boeing business jets, right?
Yeah, so we've been a partner with BBJ for quite some time now, and we're a recommended software provider for their maintenance tracking. But over the last few years, we've been able to expand that partnership into parts distribution, as well as working a bit with ForeFlight, which became a Boeing company in the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, Larry and I come from a world where mobile devices are, really an important part of creating efficiency. Larry, you had that role and responsibility at Boeing, right, with creation of mobile products and development of mobile products.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience in delivering maintenance data, and what we've learned over time is, delivering the right information to the right person at the right time, at the right place is just so important, and mobile just enables that to happen.
Yeah. Now, Greg, when we saw these mobile tools originally that Flightdocs have, now we're looking at your mobile suite here, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, as you guys know, aviation has been traditionally very paper heavy, and paper is still being used in a lot of ways in a lot of different areas of the operation. And utilizing our mobile capabilities, we've really been able to transform that for operators, where, instead of printing out a big stack of cards and walking them out to the aircraft and signing everything off by hand, our customers are assigning tasks electronically. They're signing them off electronically using e-signature, updating compliance, and keeping all of their compliance information in real time and communicating that through their organization. So, we've seen some massive benefits brought into the hands of the operators, through these mobile tools.
Yeah, and,
You know,
and
Mark,
what Larry,
I think the lesson there, hey, Mark,
Go
you know,
ahead.
there's kind of a lesson here that's really applicable across the market segments is, you know, we've talked about what's important for digital transformation, and it's three, you know, from an IT perspective, it's three things. It's cloud-based, it's mobile, and it's a great user interface. And I think, you know, Greg, you guys have been able to capture those three things that are really important concepts to be successful for digital transformation.
Yeah, you know,
for
mobile,
sure. You know,
Go ahead, Greg. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
Yep.
go ahead.
No, please, Greg, go. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the user interface. You know, when it comes to software, there's a lot of powerful software out there, but if it's not easy to use, and it's not, you know, you can't just get in there and get what you need very quickly, you find that users don't adopt it and they don't use the powerful tools. So a big part of our success and a big part of us being able to really transform these operations has been in delivering a powerful tool, utilizing a very streamlined and polished user interface.
Hey, Greg, give us your take on the importance of digital and mobile, given, you know, the sensitivity we have to touching paper and things today. I mean, how does having more mobile devices, you know, advantage a company in the days where we're trying to get away from, you know, touching paper and social distancing?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, just going back over the last couple of months, you know, talking with our customers, you know, they felt that, you know, this is something that nobody's ever experienced before, right? And we had a number of customers that really felt that they would not have been able to operate during this time without the Flightdocs product. They were able to keep connected with their team. They were able to, you know, see in real time, you know, what's the maintenance status, what jobs are being carried out, you know, where's my inventory, all of these things. A lot of operators, you know, previously did them with paper, and working from home, having limited people at the hangars, at the office, having all this information electronic has just been, you know, critical to keeping them up and running during this time.
Yeah,
I'm just going to pile on with what Greg was saying there with a couple of other thoughts. So I think some of the younger professionals coming into aerospace maintenance and so on, they just expect these tools to be digital and to have great user interfaces and so on. So that's, you know, one thought. The other was, as we all know, there's a gray out phenomenon going on right now in aviation maintenance, where there's more professionals retiring than seem to be coming into the profession. So making the people that are in it much more efficient and be able to do more is also very important. And these mobile tools certainly help in that regard.
Yeah, you know, Larry and I have seen over the years here that providing digital and mobile, you know, has not only been a critical part of creating efficiency, but today, you know, that's been accelerated, you know, for the two reasons you guys have pointed out. One is that people need those digital tools to be able to work remotely, but number two is, you know, you said it right there, you know, Rick, is that people going into the workforce today, you know, are used to using these kind of tools, and nobody wants to go back to turning pages into paper, you know, when they've been, you know, using digital for, you know, their entire life, basically, at this point.
You know, Mark, what Rick and Greg have just described is what we were calling telemaintenance. Not, you know, there's medicine, and now we're kind of taking it telemaintenance to be able to, you know, to remotely work on the airplane and share across, you know, the organization what's going on.
Yeah, it's no wonder, because you guys have positioned yourself, you know, very, very well. You have a great user interface. You're positioned in strong market segments. You know, you have great tools which are easy to use, and so the timing of, you know, people needing this in the industry has been really, really strong. And so I really encourage people that you know, you should be looking at this as a way to go, really, as a business model. Hey, I wanted to go over real quick and look at. We had a lot of people that have checked in from all around the world, and I wanted to thank you guys for doing that. And we have people from Mexico and from Florida and Texas, and, you know, and you're really all over the place. And we really thank you for joining the broadcast today. We got really great participation, and we're going to be taking some questions soon. And so if you want to put some questions into the box, you know, I think that it'll be great if we could have some back and forth dialogue. So enter your questions into the comment box, and we see them right in front of us. on the screen here. And we want to thank you really for joining today. Hey, let's continue on down the discussion here, and I want to move on to a couple different aspects of the Flightdocs business. Hey, Greg, give us a quick discussion about what are we looking at here? There's a guy looking at a screen, but it's a particular product. Tell us what he's looking at here on the screen.
Yeah, touching upon our relationship with Boeing, and actually just in this last month, we've launched a new integration with Boeing Distribution Services, formerly Aviol is the name most people know. And what this is allowing our customers to do is right from our inventory module, they can go in, view parts that are available, view their contract pricing for parts, and actually order parts directly through the Flightdocs platform. So really streamlining the whole procurement process. As you guys know, there's a lot of searching and calling and emailing and back and forth just to find parts in aviation. And we're not just talking about Boeing parts or for Boeing aircraft. We're talking about parts of all shapes and sizes across the industry. And this really eliminates a lot of that searching, delivers you the details that you need right from here, and you're able to purchase right from inside the platform.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing that you have that direct capability. Hey, Rick, in some of the other sectors of ATP where you operate in defense and you operate in business and in general aviation and also in commercial aviation, how is the availability of parts with a company such as Aviol affect those market segments?
That's actually one of the areas of collaboration that we've identified. So ATP historically, pre-Flightdocs, hadn't done a lot in the parts business. We last year developed an API which was designed to help aviation hub customers go out to a variety of different parts suppliers. But it's very nascent. So this union with Flightdocs has really given us the opportunity to advance that much more quickly.
Yeah, it really brings some synergy there, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. One of a long list of synergies.
Yeah, that's really great. Now, there's a lot of other really great interfaces. Greg, you have desktop and mobile products, and people are using them, pretty much from all those different interfaces, right? I mean, there's all sorts of different tools that they use.
Yeah, I mean, what we were just looking at on the previous slide was a shot of our inventory management system. Our adoption in this platform has really increased over the last few years. A lot of customers were keeping track of their parts, batteries, wheels, consumables on spreadsheets, or just really not knowing. Go check the shelf to see what's available. And with our inventory platform, in real time, they can always see where things are. It's fully integrated with our maintenance product, so I can take a part, install on the aircraft, have full visibility into the life cycle of that part, as well as purchasing. I can create a request, I can create a purchase order, or a core exchange, a repair order, and it's all electronic, all cloud based, and works really nicely for our operators.
Hey Greg, is this essentially an as-flying configuration sort of manager?
I'm sorry, what was that, Larry?
Is this kind of a what I call that an as-flying configuration manager?
Yeah, so I mean, on the maintenance side, you have the aircraft configuration where you can see what's installed, position, all that type of stuff. And the inventory platform is going to show you all of your what's on the shelf. Quantities, thresholds, expirations can all be managed there. And then that ties in with the maintenance side of things.
Awesome. Yeah, got it. Cool.
So Greg's too modest to brag about their interface, but I have to tell you that the private equity firm, Parker Gale out of Chicago, that put us all together, before they acquire companies, they do a lot of very thorough market research. And I have to say the net promoter scores from Flightdocs or around Flightdocs from their customers and prospective customers was just off the charts. And I think those interfaces is part of it. The level of customer service is part of it. But we'd frankly never seen scores like that before.
Yeah, that's really good. Congratulations to Flightdocs and now ATP together, because a lot of those guys are operating in spaces where they're working off of paper or spreadsheets or green screens, literally. Okay, and you guys have really changed that with this product. It's really raised the bar for people that are delivering out in that space.
Hey, Mark, what's a green screen?
I don't really know anymore, right? For those of you young kids that don't even know what the word DOS means out there, today, those are characters on a screen. That's it. You didn't get any graphics, you didn't get any fonts, you didn't get nothing. All you got was words on a screen. That was it, Yeah.
When Mark said he was in the industry for 40 years, I thought his next sentence was going to be started when he was 10. But
yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly it. Yeah. Hey, as we continue to move on here, we have some other interesting things. Like, for example, you also are in the flight operations area as well, right, Greg?
Yeah, in late 2019, we launched our Flightdocs operations platform, which is now part of the Flightdocs enterprise suite of solutions. And, flight operations, it includes flight scheduling, crew management, flight logs, trip planning. And so what this does is brings really an end-to-end solution to business aviation flight departments and allows them to do everything in one. Traditionally, very siloed in between maintenance and flight operations. Typically using different processes, different software, a mix of paper. And what we're really trying to do here is just streamline the flow of data across the flight department, keep everybody informed in real time, and really improve how quickly aircraft can turn around, how effective everybody can be in their job. And so this is a new product, and we're really excited to see where that takes us from here.
Yeah, I noticed that you guys have really focused on value streams, as Larry keeps using that word, and business cases that focus on a couple of key areas. Greg, you've said it really well to me in the past. What are the main, business cases or value streams that you focus on in the delivery of your products to customers? What's the biggest thing that those customers are trying to get out of the utilization of your products?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we touched a little bit on paper and eliminating paper from the equation, and what that does is a number of things, kind of a chain effect. In that, first, it's increasing your effectiveness and efficiency within the operation. Our customers are reporting up to 90% time saving on their administrative work. We talk a hot topic in the industry is obviously about the talent shortage, both on the maintenance side and the flight operations side. There's fewer people. The people in these positions are being asked to do a lot more with less, and having technology and the tools in place to be able to carry out this and do it quickly and effective is really key. So I'd say that's probably the top thing that we talk about, and there's a few others that play into that.
Yeah, so definitely labor savings and being able to create those kind of efficiencies. And I think Rick brought this up to me earlier as well. He said that there's really a big shortage of personnel that existed before we had this economic problem. And this industry, the business aviation industry and some of the other sectors have not been, hit quite as hard. And so that labor shortage didn't go away, right, Rick? I mean, we're still seeing that out there, and these tools are addressing that, right?
Yeah, and another concept we didn't really touch on either is just protection of asset value. So as we all know, aircraft maintenance is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And if you can't produce evidence that you've been maintaining your aircraft and nice clean records, it's probably going to cost you in terms of resale value, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars if you're into a high-end business jet.
Yeah, especially if they're leased aircraft, how important is that? You know,
Right.
so you guys have talked about labor savings. You've talked about being able to manage inventory and to be able to optimize the management of inventory. You've talked about asset value, you know, that really exists. And then I think Greg or Rick, one of the two of you were telling me about delays and cancellations as well. And, you know, how your operational tools are helping to affect that, right? Greg, was that you that was talking about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the two other things too, and you know, we talk a lot about efficiencies and costs and revenue and stuff, but obviously safety is a huge concern.
Always.
And these two companies coming together are really going to enhance the safety of these operations. But when it comes to, excuse me, when it comes to the readiness and reliability of these aircraft, you know, we went out and we did a survey across our customer base, and on average, we found that operations were missing in between 2 to 3 flights per year due to like bad communication, bad data. And when you're looking at, you know, let's say a G650 that's flying, you know, from New York to Paris, you're talking about, you know, big money that's on the line. You know, hurt reputations, losses of customers. And so, you know, making sure that everybody's in the know about current status of the aircraft, you know, what time people need to be where, you know, is the crew legal and ready to fly? You know, all of these things, we're trying to bring that all into one, you know, one spot, one view to increase the readiness and reliability of the aircraft.
And you know, Larry, one of the ways that we've done that in the industry is we put mobile tools in the hands of people right there in the cockpit, right?
Absolutely, Mark. You know, whether it be a pilot or a mechanic. And, you know, I just would like to go back to one thing, you know, Greg said. You know, you guys have found a way to bridge the canyon between flight and maintenance. And, you know, those are, you know, typically two separate silos. And it's you know, to have both the pilots and the mechanics using the same tools, accessing the same information is a ton of value.
Yeah, and you know, Greg, you're putting the ability to be able to bring, you know, combined tools together, like flight operations tools and maintenance tools, and then, you know, those mobile devices being put into the cockpit, and it's really allowing us to be able to have a more streamlined operation through the, you know, entire operation, right, from beginning to end, right?
Yeah, and actually, you know, the image that we just had up there is one of our customers. They are a heli medical operator, and so we service, you know, all types of aircraft, fixed wing, rotor, and they were actually the first. This is going back to, I think, 2018. They were the first heli EMS operator to go electronic in the United States, and they were utilizing Flightdocs to get that done. They've seen, you know, massive improvements throughout their operation in getting rid of paper and moving electronic.
So,
and Greg, how long has that been?
Rick, one thing I had, you know, Greg kind of brought it up, but Rick, you guys have kind of covered the spectrum of fleet types, right? Helicopters, GA, BA, you guys do document management pretty much across that whole spectrum, correct?
Yeah, we have, and that's really part of the value proposition we bring to our customers with the Aviation Hub, is just content from a really wide variety of OEMs, you know, Textron, Piper, Pratt & Whitney Canada, Viking, MD Helicopter. So if you're, you know, really the product really sings if you're an MRO that's servicing lots of different types of aircraft. You can use the same tool to access all that content, and of course, as you guys well know, aircraft, usually when you're maintaining a whole aircraft, there's a number of different OEMs involved. So the last thing you want is you or your maintainers to be trying to figure out, okay, I'm on the avionics right now, so where do I get that content? And now I'm going over landing gear. So we put it all under one roof, along with the regulatory content, as I mentioned earlier. So it's just kind of a one-stop shop.
So it's flight and maintenance that you guys are, yeah, cool.
Yep, and it's amazing that you've been putting those tools directly into the hands of people, so that it's the users where they can be the most efficient. Greg, you have some mobile devices here which you put into people's hands, right? Where even phones and things like that they can use.
Yeah, we have applications on both the maintenance and inventory side and the flight operations side. You know, what you're looking at right here is a perfect example. You know, this is what we call the pilot dashboard. And for crew members, they're used to, you know, getting into the cockpit, and they'd have a piece of paper that would tell them, you know, do we have any open MELs? When's the next maintenance item coming due? Either by, you know, hours, landing cycles, calendar, and oftentimes crew members found it was outdated, it was missing, and then they go through this whole process of picking up the phone. Hey, what's the deal with the maintenance? Or, you know, I'm just landed in Europe, and, you know, I need the status of these 5 items for the EASA inspectors. And what we were able to deliver is in one view for the pilots, one place where they could view all this information, you know, see the current status of the aircraft, but also interact back with maintenance. So they can update their aircraft times, they can report a discrepancy, snap a picture, take a video, and submit that in order to streamline that whole flow of data and get the aircraft back up and running and ready for flight.
Yeah, Larry and I have really seen putting those mobile tools into people's hands have just created dramatic efficiencies, you know, out there.
Hey, Mark, you know, and Greg, what you guys, you know, just described as a great sort of troubleshooting example. But Rick, I think we were talking earlier, you guys have a health management, a chronics tool that kind of helps that troubleshooting process as well.
Yeah, we do. That product's called Chronic X. It's primarily used by commercial airlines right now. The way it works is, well, as you guys well know, average airliner generates about 140 pilot reports or maintenance reports per month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've got a 250 aircraft airline, that's about 35,000 of these reports per month. So going through them and spotting patterns or stopping things before they get out of hand just manually is a real problem. And these reports are supposed to be coded with ATA codes, and sometimes they are, or sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they're coded incorrectly. So with Chronic X, we ingest all of that data from our customers, in some cases several times per day, and then we present them back with a screen that makes it really easy to spot. So think about a flight taking off from Denver and going to LA, has a problem, gets a part replaced, goes on to Singapore, same thing happens, goes from there to Mumbai, and it's encountering different flight crews, different maintenance personnel along the way. So it's hard if Greg serviced something in Florida and it comes on to Denver and I do the same thing. It's tough to know that this is going on. So the screen you've just put up here is what we'd show typically in a maintenance control center. Each of those lines is a different aircraft, a different tail number. Each of the dots is an incident. You can click on those and get a lot more information. But this just makes it really simple to spot recurring problems, recurring defects, and get at them before they just keep reoccurring. And we were talking earlier about the cost of flight delays and cancellations and so on. I think I've seen lots of numbers, but $9,000 an hour seems to be about an average for an aircraft parked on the tarmac waiting to be repaired. It's lost revenue having to put people up in hotels or switch flights and so on. So this product costs less than $2,000 per year per aircraft. So if we can save our customer 20 minutes in a year on a particular aircraft, everything after that is gravy.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Now, earlier on in the broadcast, you talked about a product that you have, which is called the Aviation Hub. And I think that's really where, ATP starts in their product suite. Can you just give us a quick overview of what this Aviation Hub concept is?
Yeah, so this is the one I mentioned that got the company started 47 years ago, started with paper and then did the whole evolution into CD-ROM, then microfiche, and now, of course, everything's online and in handheld and mobile, I should add, too, just like the Flightdocs products. So what we do here is, as I mentioned earlier, we aggregate content from lots of different OEMs in the business general aviation space, Piper, Viking, MD Helicopter, and so on. I named a few of them earlier. We put them all together in the hub. We augment that content with regulatory content, airworthiness directives, and so on from the FAA and EASA. We also have some tools on there that make it easier for our customers to, aggregate data and look at the whole plane and that sort of thing. So the value we're bringing that I touched on earlier is as a maintainer, you're not having to jump around to different sources and figure out, okay, I'm going here for the landing gear and here for the engine and so on. It's all there in one place. We take all that content, we divide it up into libraries so that, if you're just servicing Cessna 172s, to use the example that Larry did a little while ago, we've got a library for that. So you can just subscribe to exactly what you need. People generally pay an annual subscription for those libraries, and we pay royalties back to the OEMs.
Yeah, and you guys have so many different products and solutions that exist. It would take us hours to be able to discuss all of them. And so I wanted to just come back for a minute and kind of refocus on sort of, business aviation and this merger, that occurred between your two companies. Is that, Rick, can you just give us your perspective on why this was the right time to bring these two companies together, and what does it mean out there to the industry?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, I'll say that I mentioned Parker Gale earlier. Flightdocs has been on their radar, pardon the pun, for quite some time. The synergies and so on just seem to be very obvious. And we talked before about having a portfolio of customers and industry segments that we're serving. So we're obviously in business and general aviation in a big way with the aviation hub. Flightdocs is in the same space, but really a little bit adjacent. And the product. Joint product opportunities, the joint marketing and promotional opportunities that we saw with this union were just so numerous, we couldn't resist. And the timing was interesting. I mean, to do something like this during a pandemic was a little unusual, but we made it all work with tools like the one that we're using right now to get together. I think I'd met one person at Flightdocs before all this, and that was Greg. I met him two or three times at different NBAAs. But normally in a process like this, you would spend a lot of face-to-face time. Both teams would to make it happen, but that option just wasn't available to us. So, and I'll say too, the cultures of the two companies and the quality of the people just really seem to be a match as well. Some of those aspects they're a little less tangible, but equally or maybe even more important.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, what does it mean to Flightdocs for these two companies to come together?
Yeah, just kind of picking up where Rick left off. We have an incredible team here at Flightdocs. Very committed, dedicated, forward-thinking, and what I'm seeing at ATP here over the last few months is the same. And for us, we're looking at how do we innovate, how do we bring new tools, new services to this industry to make our customers as good as they could possibly be, and so. Together, we're a stronger force. We have more manpower, more firepower, and I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do from a joint product development standpoint, and how we'll be able to bring new products to the industry. So I'm really excited about it. I know our teams are really excited about it, and we're already getting right to work. So I would expect to see some good things here shortly.
Yeah, that's really good. Two strong companies with strong economic, strong balance sheets, coming together in an industry which is doing better than others, right now at this point in time, and with a portfolio that just laces together so nicely. You guys have positioned yourself, quite well. So for those people that are currently ATP and Flightdocs customers, you're going to be in a good position. And for those that are looking for the opportunity to create those efficiencies and asset value and all those business case things that we've talked about, it really represents a tremendous opportunity. Hey, I'm going to come back for a minute to the recovery in aviation, concept. Whenever we get, leaders in the industry, onto our broadcast, we want to make sure that we leverage that and share some good information and some good tidbits. And, Rick, I wanted to come back to you for a minute and say, as a CEO of a company, you've been backed by PE firms and have been, involved in growing companies for, some time in your career. Can you give some advice to people out there that are struggling maybe in this time? Is that, what should people be doing during this time to be able to make their companies stronger?
Yeah, well, we certainly have been fortunate to have the backing of Parker Gale, who I mentioned is the PE firm that owns us. But I think we've talked about this throughout this session. But delivering products to your customers that deliver really high ROI, and I think we found that we need to remind them of that or point to it a little more, because everybody's or a lot of people are in such dire straits right now. They're just looking to cut everywhere, but they're in fact costs that are actually going to save you money. So we've spent a lot of time on that. And then the other thing that we've paid a lot of attention to, and I know Flightdocs has as well during this time, is just really communicating or over communicating with our teams. There's so much uncertainty out there in the world right now about, the economic situation, if you've got kids in school and all kinds of things. So we've been very focused on keeping our teams informed as to what's going on. And, if we've had to cut back on this or that or the other, just being, explaining that and being just over communicative. And I think it's helped. I think it's helped us all kind of get through these difficult times.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Hey, let me turn that question back over to Greg and say, Greg, you are the president of Flightdocs, now the chief strategy officer for a company twice the size now. What are your words of wisdom to people out there that are saying, I'm just trying to figure out how to make my business successful? What are some of the thoughts that you have for people watching today?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you need really need a product that's going to make a difference inside of your customer's, organization or operation. Service is a huge component, and we talked a lot about technology today. You see our mobile applications, have a nice UI, but a big piece of our business and our success, even through tough times, has been our service. And a big kudos to our customer support team and our operations team. 24/7, 365. Customers call, and 2 rings or less, they get a live person on the phone that can walk them through anything that they're looking for. So that's been huge. And the other thing I would say is keeping a positive outlook on what's going on. I've seen a lot of companies say, it's a pandemic. Nobody's picking up the phone. Nobody's around. Nobody's doing anything. And I take this time to, sit back and just wait for it to blow by. And we really took a complete opposite strategy and ran full into it. And kept it positive. Talked to customers, saw what we could do for them. Talked to them about the technology, about the service. And we've continued to grow year over year sales through the middle of the pandemic. So stay positive and keep pushing to grow your business.
Yeah, I love your guys' attitude. I mean, energy and enthusiasm are what makes success, and I really appreciate that. Hey, Larry, from your perspective, what do you see with these two companies coming together and the value stream that they have? What do you think that means to the industry out there today?
Mark, we've talked about the technology and completing the value stream, but I think the two things that you guys were talking about that are so important in a merger, and having someone who's lived through the Boeing and McDonnell Douglas merger and several other acquisitions at Boeing, understanding the people and understanding the culture are so important to the success. And I think you guys recognizing that is going to make this work, because the products fit. It's the people part of it that's really going to make it work.
Yeah, I really agree. It's just a challenging time, but you guys have, really been telling us you're really leaning on your people, and you have great products, and, you got a great positioning in the market. And so we're really looking forward to the synergy that's going to be created by the merger, of your two companies. Hey, listen, there's so many things that we could talk about, in a broadcast like this, but people need to take it offline with you guys. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, so what's the best way to get in touch with you? Rick and Greg, is it on LinkedIn?
Sure. Personally, that works, I think, for both of us. And then you just put up the atp.com web address here. There's lots more information there and ways to get in touch or ask for specific product information.
Yeah, I would really encourage you to reach out and continue this conversation with these two guys. Great companies. Like I said, we're really looking forward to seeing where you're going. Larry and I really strive to try to bring valuable content onto these broadcasts. And, if you'd like to reach out to Larry and I, you can get Larry Little on LinkedIn. You can get me on LinkedIn as well. Or if you'd like to send me an email, you can send me an email to the address that's on the screen as well. Hey, we are so happy to have had you on this broadcast today, gentlemen. And, you guys are what Larry and I would consider almost a perfect example of recovery in aviation. I mean, you guys ran forward, during what was presented as a difficult time. You have great products, you have great people, and you put things together to something that's going to be even better. And so, I just tell people out there watching today is that, if you want ideas on success, these guys are creating success and they're running forward within the industry. Keep an eye on them. I always say that if you want to be successful in business, you should model or mentor, after people that are successful. Watch these guys. You're going to see success that exists out there. Hey guys, I really want to thank you for being on the broadcast today. Greg, best of success in your new role over the larger company. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Absolutely. And Rick, in your new combined role, you got a lot of new great resources at your fingertips, don't you?
I do, with Greg probably topping the list. But the other thing I'll add too is the ATP mission statement was to make flying safer and more reliable. And you're asking about synergies. Obviously, Flightdocs fits squarely into that mission. So another reason I think we're going to be very successful.
Fantastic. That's great. Glad to have you guys on board today. And listen, anybody out there listening today, we're always looking for good new content on our programs. If you think that your company would be a good company to feature on a broadcast such as this, reach out to Larry or I, and we would love to talk to you, because the two of us are all about trying to help people to be successful in recovery in aviation. Larry, thanks for joining me today as my co-host.
Hey, thanks, Mark. It was a fun discussion.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Hey, listen, everybody, thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate it. I want to sign off now, and I appreciate you joining us. We have this broadcast on Wednesdays and Fridays, most Wednesdays and Fridays at 9 o'clock Pacific, 1600 GMT. And I want to encourage you to join us and be part of this conversation, this recovery in aviation. Thanks for being with us today. I'll sign off as I always do. Fair winds and following seas to you. You guys have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.